Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Spiritual Inspired podcast. I am your host, Claudiu Murgan. For previous episodes, please visit Oraverse Network, spiritualinspired.ca, or our YouTube channel. My guest is Erlinda Inniss, and today we are going to talk about energy readings, manifestation, entrepreneurship, and the force that drives us to do the things we do in life. So, Erlinda, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And you describe yourself as a spiritual guide, manifesting coach, and medium. And you've recently transitioned into the financial industry. How do you bridge those two worlds? Do you see spirituality and financial freedom as naturally connected?
I do actually, it's interesting because I was talking to a friend about this a few weeks ago, and we were discussing how I think when it comes to spirituality, a lot of people think, oh, if I'm super spiritual, that means I can't enjoy money or have money, which I personally think that's kind of odd, but I feel like it is something that's super common thought process in the spiritual community, at least that I have been around and interacted with. But I definitely think there's a huge connection there. I definitely believe that we are supposed to be wealthy. We're supposed to have what we want to have. And I think the more that you have, the more you're in service to others, And so I definitely think that those two things are combined for sure. Oh,
Yes, I agree. And we at Oraverse, we are proponents of being financial independent, being sovereign, and we encourage people to invest in gold and silver for sure, because that's a way to preserve one's wealth.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
You've been doing tarot and energy reading for over 15 years. What was the moment you realized this was more than a gift? That was your life purpose?
Okay. So my grandmother actually, she's from the Philippines, and um, the line of women of my family there were like medicine women, very gifted women. My grandmother kind of explained to me that these gifts kind of skipped generations, like every other generation or so. And so that kind of hit with me. And so I always had these abilities since I was a kid. When my grandmother passed, it was when I was 12, 13 years old. Things really intensified for me in the sense of my gifts and things. Now, I do want to be clear that I am somebody, I do not need tarot or things like that to do a reading. You know what I mean? Because I think with the new age stuff that's coming, it's like crystals, tarots, this, that, which is great. Those are great tools, but I also think there's a double-edged sword there as well. I definitely thought that, hey, my gift, the biggest thing I'm known for is just energy reading or, at the time, mediumship. Um, I definitely thought like, hey, this is my path. I'm helping so many people and I'm doing this here. I totally thought that was my path. And then I kind of had a situation happen that totally took me in a complete opposite direction. I did open up a metaphysical shop and wellness center in the midst of this in like 2020, 2019, 2020. And that business was racially vandalized and it was this really big thing. And I guess you could say that was kind of a upheaval in my next spiritual development, I guess you could say. With that led me to what I'm doing now and financial services. I still coach and things like that. But it definitely is a gift I've always had. I still apply it in my life and everything that I do. I think it was just navigating on what sat right with me and how I was connecting with that and being in alignment with that in my life.
I want to go back for a second to your Filipino roots because I know how rich that area is in spirituality, shamanism, energy healing. So, have you worked with your grandmother before she passed to enrich your capabilities and get or learn about these gifts your ancestors developed over the hundreds of years?
Yeah, so yeah, I want to say yes and no because it's like in that age, past when I was 12, 13, it's like, oh, there's so much more that I could have learned from her, but it was definitely something she was aware of within me for, as long as I can remember. And she would, teach me things along the way. And I felt like I had control over that because I can see energy, I guess you could say. So that is very different. So how I view things is not the same as everybody else. So that is very different, and learning to navigate that, which was very difficult. And I think while she was here, I was grounded in what I knew, and she had taught me a lot. But I will say that after she had passed was definitely enhancement times 100 is all I can say with that. And so I had a lot of meditation, I'm huge in meditation. I really believe meditation is the key to everything and connecting in that way, where I was able to connect with, guides and things like that. For me, that helped me after her passing.
Interesting. And do you go back there to, learn more? Have you done that over the years, or you are not interested in that aspect of your life and you just stay with what you have right now?
Yeah, I have not been, which is crazy to think that I haven't, but it's interesting because I have had people that would pop up in my life, and guides, physical guides, I guess you could say, that would pop up that would literally have things from the Philippines for this to give to me or share with me. So it was very interesting that I never got to physically go there. I definitely want to plan to, but it was really interesting how it all found me along the way here.
Yes, and I think you are going to, or you have to spend at least a month there to go deeper, immerse yourself into what those people are doing. And I know from other guests that they found a lot of knowledge and wisdom and energy healers who really brought relief into their life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned that mediumship plays a huge role in helping people who are stuck in grief after losing loved ones. How do you hold space for that level of emotional weight without carrying the home with you?
Um, Meditation is definitely key again. But I would definitely, there was a time in my life where I think 1 year I did over 1,000 readings 1 year. Um, that was a lot, way too much. I definitely had to learn to open my container of what I can carry and what I can't. But also, like, I'm definitely in a time in my life right now where I do it when I want to or feel really guided to, I'm just in a different time in my life, so I'm able to definitely be in more balance with that. But that definitely is a big thing because mediumship takes a lot of energy. um and it depended, everybody's different too, so the level of energy that's taking for someone to connect or whatever, depending on what's going on, there's different levels to that. So just always being grounded in myself. And meditation, like I said, I'm a huge meditator, so that's huge.
And do you follow a specific path for meditation or anything you developed on your own?
um I I guess I could probably say I have my own path of meditation, because I've never went into like a class or to get certified or something like that. I truly believe, they have all these certifications, stuff like that, and I'm not bashing that at all. I think that's great that people want to do that, but like I think really connecting with source within yourself and with your own energy, you can't get a certification for that. So, because you're always learning somebody else's way, of how to do something, and everybody's unique in how they do that. So, I learned meditation from my guides and things like that, and how to get me into a meditation state really quick and what works for me. So,
Interesting. And do you work with, a lot of people in the spiritual community, they work with, extraterrestrial entities or, certain saints. Do you draw your ideas, your energy, your inspiration from someone in particular?
I mean, God, Jesus, that is definitely my source right there, 100%. And I know some people feel some type of way about that. Sometimes, everybody's different, but for me, that's Jesus and God, and that is 100% where my source is.
Beautiful. And would you describe that this source is the same force, the higher force that guided you through your entrepreneurial journey as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because, as you go and you start to become so aware, and you notice the synchronicities, you notice the signs. And I think when you start paying attention to that, Source is talking to us all the time. It's just whether we're going to hear it and see it and listen to it. A lot of us hear it and we listen to it, but we don't do it. So, yeah, definitely.
And what would you advise those who want to connect to their higher self to do? What's the approach that will be of less resistance?
Meditation. I know. I think people get so irritated when I say meditation because it's like, oh, well, I hear people say a lot, well, I just can't meditate because I can't stop thinking. And I think people have the wrong idea of what meditation is. So for me, meditation is we're never going to stop thinking. Like, I mean, we're always going to be thinking. And if anything, we're overthinking, right? And I think the idea of meditation is not to stop thinking, it's to slow down. So that way you can receive everything that's coming to you and learning to open your energy container, because then when you can slow it down and you can hear this and see this and process that, it's a lot different in how you can be regulated. I think that's why you come across people like, I have anxiety and I have this, and it's just is pent up energy that is not regulated and flowing right. So I know people hate when I say meditation because it's work that you have to do. We can't dodge the work. There's no simple, switch for it other than, hey, meditate, get connected with yourself in that. And I think that's a hard thing to do though for people too, because I actually had someone that said they were scared to meditate because they're scared to the fear of dealing with themselves.
Yes, I agree with that.
And that is a huge thing. And I think if people can overcome that fear and realize like, hey, like they're sometimes they are hard conversations, but you still got to do it. You got to do the work, and that all starts with meditation.
Yeah, so my suggestion is for your next interview, just write meditation on a piece of paper. When you be asked a question, you just leave that piece of
Yeah,
paper and then
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm just being
yes,
honest though.
no problem. So, Erlinda, we are going through a very transformative period on Earth, in the spiritual community and outside. But overall, we are one community, humanity. How do you see this, let's say, chaos, this tug of war? Do you find that your life, spiritual life, is much harder and you have to put more effort into staying grounded and balanced? Or is the same as before? And how do you see us coming out of this turbulent period?
um, oh, gosh, that is like a packed question. Let's see. You want? Can we divide that up into like two questions? Re-ask that in a different way because I feel like I have 50 answers that just came at that
How do
question.
you stay grounded during this turbulent time?
Yeah.
And does it take you more effort to do it? Or is business as usual for you?
So for me, I think right now it's easier. I think that a lot of what has come for me and kind of my journey and how it led me was to prepare me individually for this time and being able to deal with everything. Because I have noticed that a lot of people are very like, oh my gosh, and and I'm like, yeah. I'm very calm with it. So I would say I know meditation is key for sure. But also I think for me, I've been doing a lot of putting myself in the position of understanding in this time right now. Because I think a lot of the turbulence that you're speaking of and the energy going on is because people are operating in fear, they're operating in lack, they're operating in a lot of lower vibrational emotions and energies. Where if we simply put ourselves in a state of understanding, not listening to react, but listening to understand, I think people would really react differently to everything that's going on. Because the world is perspective, and everybody's on their own individual journey. And we have to remember that, yes, we are a collective, but we also are on our own individual journeys as well. And so when we can reach somebody in the state of understanding, it's like, oh, I'm understanding this person's journey. How is that leading them to me? What are they learning from me, or what am I learning from them? And I think when you can respond in that way, it helps all people, in a conversation or, in a group setting. You'll see the energy be completely different when you're doing that.
Thank you. And now the second part of the question was about what you're feeling on how we are coming out of these turbulent times when you put in the balance what we perceive of dark and light. Are we way ahead on the light side because the whole, let's say, matrix or the whole construction is started to crack, and people can see the corruption. They see that the wars are being started to cover up other big items. So, what's your take on that?
I think that the dark has to be exposed in order for anything to get better. And in order, when dark gets exposed, shit is gonna happen. And so it's like I think people again have to go on the understanding of, we want better, we want more light, we want this to happen, but we have to go through the darkness to get it. And so I think right now we're going through the darkness, we're dealing with it, it's being exposed, it's ridding itself. So people have to understand, like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we got to go through it to get to the end of it. And so that's really my stance on that. I, again, go into the state of understanding when it comes to a lot of different situations going on in the world right now. And if you could just put yourself in that state, I think it's easier to, I don't want to say deal with the darkness that we have to go through to get there.
Yes, interesting. Yes. What do you think is the most common misconception about the process of manifestation people usually have?
Overthinking. Oh man, I feel like I can go on and on about that one. But I think the misconception too is like, if I just say the word or the sentence 20 times, it's going to pop up. And which does positive affirmation work? Absolutely, but there also has to be action behind there. There has to be the awareness to see the opportunities and things that will align you with what you want as well, and taking that action towards it. I think in my experience, that has been the biggest thing. It's just like, well, I wrote it down 50 times and nothing happened. It's just like, okay, there's more work behind that. And it is an inner thing, because when you're just operating from that deservingness and things like that, energy flows a lot easier.
Yes, yeah, thank you. And as a young entrepreneur, what will be an advice for those who want to start a business at a young age and kind of shield them from some mishaps that happened to you?
Yeah, I would definitely say having a tight circle of those people that can pour into you, and vice versa. I'm very big on who I'm surrounding myself with. How do they talk? What are they doing? Are they, sometimes people come across like jealous friends, or, things like that. And I just think, even if your circle's super small, two, three people, just make sure it's the right people. Or if there is somebody, find somebody that you want to be like and go attach to that person, and learn those habits and things like that. Because I think my biggest thing was, I didn't really have, I don't have a big family. I don't have family. I don't have, these people that I could really look to. So I had to find it, and when you don't have that around you right away, that limiting belief is created around you of like, does that even exist? Is that real? But the second I got in contact with the right people, it's like, oh, so I think it's a perspective shift for sure. So I would say if I could have learned that a lot sooner too on the company I keep, that would have helped.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good answer. Thank you. And this leads me to the next question, which is related to, divine timing and synchronicity. So how do you teach clients to distinguish between divine timing and simply waiting out of fear?
Um, so one of my mentors, Shane Rudman, he is somebody that helped me with that tremendously, actually just within the last 3 years. And any feeling that is nervousness, fear, confusion is not of higher source. Those are not higher source energies. And I think, and that sounds like, to me, when he said it, and maybe it was just the timing in my life of when he said it, that it really clicked in my head of like, oh, well, duh, like, yeah, And then so the second I started to get confused about something, I was like, well, God does not provide confusion. Just doesn't. It provides clarity. So, I mean, I think when you can start to distinguish and tell yourself, though, like, not saying that fear doesn't exist in the sense of, oh, maybe like I'm starting something new, I'm a little nervous, but nervousness is different than fear, I think a lot of time too, when I've come across people, the difference between fear and nervousness, let's say, because fear, you'll see people straight up spiral out of fear. Nervousness is like, okay, I'll do it, but fear is like, no. They get very defensive, and so the energy is very different. So I think the more you learn yourself, and start to divide up what feeling comes from my heart, what feeling for me, it's between my stomach and my heart, or a lot of people is their head and their stomach, there, the sooner you can distinguish that, the better, for yourself. And everyone's kind of different, though, that I've learned, in where they feel those feelings. So
Thank
a
you.
lot of those feelings are actually, I've come to learn, attached to, it can be attached to someone's childhood trauma. When they get nervous, maybe they start to do something with their arm, or if they're scared, so it shows up differently in people.
Yes, indeed. And Erlinda, if you have to summarize all the services you are doing and how people can reach you, can you please do that for us?
Yeah, so Obviously, from financial services, I do coaching. We do marketing as well. So it really depends. I know those are three totally different areas, but for me, it's all in alignment because I like to learn people's energy, and then we align those things with their energy, but people can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Erlinda.Inniss is my Instagram, as well as TikTok.
And for the spiritual side of those you are meeting with, are you still doing readings and help them to go through their spiritual hurdles?
Yeah, so right now, anything as far as my spiritual stuff, just shoot me a message. I work with people kind of based on if I feel to or not right now.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We are at the end of this wonderful conversation. Any final words?
No, just thank you for having me. I'm happy to share this information. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you.
And to my viewers, thank you for watching. Share it, leave a comment. And until next time, love and gratitude.